Hey folks, it's Rob from Rob's Movie Collection. I was recently browsing around and I came across the Deadly Dames Horror Extravaganza video they were doing. They all did a video of their top 5 fantasy films, which turned out to be mostly films from the 80s, so it was really great. They're talking about all these films that I remember from the 80s that I grew up with during the first renaissance of fantasy films back in those days. So I thought, okay, I can do one of those, and I asked them if it would be okay to kind of follow up on theirs, and they said, go for it. So I'm actually going to do top 10, because there's only one of me, and originally I was going to do like my top 10 fantasy films of all time, but you know what, that's so many. That's just too many. I can't narrow it down to 10, and I'd have to, if I did it from then to now, I'd have to deal with, like boy wizards and hobbits and just a whole bunch of other stuff. So I decided that what I'm going to do is do my top 10 fantasy films from the 80s, because those are mostly the ones that I really enjoyed and that I have fond memories of. So I thought I'd start that way. I'm going to try to go through these kind of quick. I'm not going to really focus too much on any one, because like I've said in other videos of this type, I do eventually want to do retrospectives of each one of these and go into it then, so I don't want to be repetitive, and I don't want this video to be too long. So before I start though, I'm going to put the links to the Deadly Dames top 5 fantasy films down here in the description, so check it out. Go to their channel. They've got some great videos, those and a bunch of other ones. They got a bunch of great movies over there. So okay, so let's start with number 10. I've got The Sword and the Sorcerer. Now, for those of you who are a little bit young or who may not remember this is called a videotape. Yeah, you see, this is what we used to watch our movies on. When we got them anyway. It used to be just on the movie screen and TV. But at first, that's before DVDs and before Blu-ray, it was videotapes. Maybe that's why I'm not so excited or just in a hurry to get Blu-ray, because for me DVD, I went from this to DVD. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. Now this is one of 2 movies on my list that I have on videotape, because I haven't been able to get it on DVD yet, but definitely will at some point. But so The Sword and the Sorcerer, it from the 80s, of course, and it starred Lee Horsley, who would eventually go on to play Matt Houston on TV. It also co-starred Frank Fontana from Murphy Brown. I'm not even kidding about this. He's the guy that played Frank Fontana on Murphy Brown, for some reason, is in this Sword and Sorcery movie. And I believe that this guy here was played by Bull from Night Court, so it's really weird. But I wasn't able to see it when it first came out. It was a rated R film, and I eventually ended up seeing it on TV for the first time, and then, of course, got the videotape. It's a cool little film. It's very sword sorcery, and it stands out because of this thing here, which you can't kind of see. I don't know if you can check it out with all the glare and stuff, but it's this triple-bladed sword, which I would say that it's a cool weapon, but it's definitely one of a kind. But I don't know how cool it is. It seems so awkward to kind of use, but it's this weird 3-bladed sword that he uses in the movie, and at one point he's able to actually like shoot the outer blades out and like projectiles into people, so it's actually pretty effective against the bad guys. So I always remember this movie because of that. So hope to still get it on DVD and maybe Blu-ray, since I'm crossing over into Blu-ray. So but only if it has documentaries. Anyway, so let's move on. Next up at number 9, I have The Beastmaster, and the Deadly Dames also had this, and there's going to be a lot of crossover Deadly Dames, because I also like a lot of those movies too. Beastmaster starring Mark Singer, about this guy who can not control the animals, but can communicate with them, and he doesn't really have them do their bidding as much as they're his friends, and they do stuff for him, so they hang out with him kind of on his quest. Dar the Beastmaster, also co-starring Tanya Roberts, who came from the Charlie's Angels TV show, and all these animals, and the black tiger, this poor tiger that was tinted black for this movie, and the ferrets that he has, and the eagle, and I always remember this great scene with these bat-like creatures that was really cool in the movie, so I always remember that one. It's really, really great. Next up, I got Excalibur. Oh, shine there. Excalibur. Well, I guess that shine is okay since if it's on the sword. There you go. Excalibur, the story of King Arthur and his knights. What I like about this version, it's directed by John Boorman, is that it's mythical and it has magic to it. Some of the more recent versions, like King Arthur with Keira Knightley, kind of took all that out. They just seemed to want to take the magic out, and this one's got the mythology and the magic, and it co-stars Helen Mirren, and it's got that great music and very heroic on the knights questing for the Holy Grail and stuff. So, really, really great movie. Like that one. Next up, we have Legend. Legend starring Tom Cruise and the beautiful Mia Sara, who just we were so in love with, coming off of Ferris Bueller, and here she was as a princess. And co-starring, of course, Tim Curry as Darkness, and one of the most amazing makeups ever done for a movie. I don't know how he carried those horns around or how he even stood up straight, but it's really great. This is a great DVD as well. This has the version of the movie that has the Jerry Goldsmith original score. Now, here in the States, we had a score by a group called Tangerine Dream, which is kind of an electronic score, which, of course, you know, I'm a big soundtrack guy, so of course I love anything by Jerry Goldsmith. I mean, he's just, he's just awesome. And but I gotta say that for so many years before this came out, I just knew it with the Tangerine Dream score, and it was weird at first, but then I got used to it. So in a way, that seems more like this movie to me than the one with Jerry Goldsmith. But either way, they're both pretty good, and it's this great story. This is definitely very mythical and very fairy tale like, and definitely recommend that one. Next up, we have Dragon Slayer. Yes, Disney has a dragon. Hands down, in my opinion, the best movie dragon ever. That's my opinion. But we've had a lot of dragons since then. We have Draco from Dragonheart. We've had, of course, Smaug recently. All great dragons, but for me, Vermithrax Pejorative, that's what her name was. Weird name, but I tried to memorize it a while ago. Just a great dragon. What I admire about these movies from the 80s is that they didn't have the technology the way they do these days with computers to do things so easy. It's like these days, let's just make a dragon. Yeah, computers. But they had to really work hard for it back then. And you had these huge mock-ups and these great models. And, a time where people didn't really want fantasy movies as much, and the studios certainly didn't want it. So when they got one greenlit, I think that was very impressive. And early role for Peter McNichol. I can't believe it's the same guy that went on to be in Ally McBeal and Ghostbusters 2, but it is him. And of course, I think Ralph Richardson is in this movie as the wizard. So Sir Ralph Richardson. But great movie and the best dragon in my opinion ever. Next up we have Krull. Krull from the 80s. This has a score by James Horner. Starring Ken Marshall and the beautiful Lisette Anthony, who I remember seeing on a British sitcom, and I thought she was really just beautiful. I think they might have actually dubbed her in this movie, and I have no idea why, because she has a beautiful voice, and I don't know. But studio's weird. But great movie. It's very also the hero's journey type of, mythical type. He's got the hero, and he has to go on his journey, and he's got a mentor, and just perfect, just the way it is with the Joseph Campbell kind of hero's journey type thing. And it's got this great little weapon here called the glaive, which he throws. It's a spinning thing that he throws, and it has blades on the edge of it. Kind of unique. Never seen anything like that before or since. At least I haven't. It's very cool, and also early roles for Liam Neeson and Robbie Coltrane. So there you go. Next up, we have Conan. Of course, Conan the Barbarian. What is best in life, Conan? Well, this movie. Arnold Schwarzenegger's early role here as Conan the Barbarian. Co-starring Sandal Bergman as Valeria. And I remember we really wanted to go see this movie, but we couldn't get into the theater because it was rated R. And I wanted to see it because I just loved fantasy movies, and I was really into fantasy movies. And my friends wanted to see it because they heard there was a lot of violence and there were boobs in it. So, not that I didn't want to enjoy that as well, but mostly I wanted the fantasy element because there was not a lot of fantasy films. So we couldn't get in, but you can't see me, but I have a very, very, round face, and back in those days I really had a baby face, so I definitely could not get in, get a ticket. But fortunately we had a friend who at 16 or 17 had a 5 o'clock shadow, and he ended up buying the tickets at another theater for it, so we got to see Conan, and yes, they got to see their boobs, so they were all happy. But just a great movie, and I've heard that there might be they might make that sequel finally, that third film where he's sitting on the throne, he's all old, and he has a troubled brow and all that, and that would really be great. So next up we got Clash of the Titans, Ray Harryhausen's swan song. It's his last movie that he made, and he wasn't kidding. He said, I'm going to retire and that's it, and he did. But this one's got just some of his best creatures in there. Harryhausen was out at his best when he went to mythological, when we went to especially the Greek mythology, and the story of Perseus and the Kraken, and of course Medusa. It's one of his best. Medusa is probably my second favorite of Harryhausen's creatures. The first, of course, being the Cyclops from Sans Voyage of Sinbad. But and Laurence Olivier as Zeus, you can't do better than that. I mean, sorry, Liam Neeson, you made a great Zeus, but can't compete with Laurence Olivier. So at number 2, my second videotape, Lady Hawk. Lady Hawk was a movie directed by Richard Donner, the man who directed The Goonies and my favorite movie, Superman the Movie, starring Matthew Broderick. And it was so weird to see Ferris Bueller in this kind of medieval type of setting, in this movie, co-starring Michelle Pfeiffer as the beautiful Isabeau, and Rutger Hauer, which when I first saw him, I was like, wow, that's weird. I had knew him from Blade Runner, and he was always playing villains type of antagonists, and I thought he was going to be the bad guy in the film, but then it turns out that he was the heroic knight, and he did a great job. This is a great movie. It's very romantic. It's about love, and it's about friendship, and it's got a fantasy element to it, but they do it in a way where they don't really use special effects as much as they use just camera tricks and dissolves and that sort of thing. There's a scene where Rutger Hauer turns from a wolf into a man as she turns from a woman into a hawk, a lady hawk, and they do it just with just this great music and very editing, and just it's beautiful and it's magical. So definitely recommend this, one of my favorite ones, and I've been wanting to get this on DVD for so long. So at number 1, I've got Willow. Willow is my top. It was very close between these two, but Willow definitely takes the cake for me. It's a top fantasy movie from the 80s. It's got, this is directed by Ron Howard and produced by George Lucas, so you had a lot of big guns behind this. It's a great story, and a lot of great special effects, and just a big fantasy element with fairies and dragons, and I love that they just went all out in it. It's got one of the first computer morphin effects that kind of set the stage for what eventually what we ended up having these days. That's so common, even in TV commercials. But starring Warwick Davis, and Val Kilmer as Mad Mardigan, and Jean Marsh as Queen Bavmorda, and also a little cameo by Chuck from Happy Days, but I'll get into that later when I do the retrospective on this. And of course, Saoirse, I'm blanking on her name, Joanne Whalley, who just a great little romance between them, and really, really well done. Great music by, I believe James Horner as well. He really got around back then, yep, Horner. So, Willow is just a great film. If I ever make another one of those, I made a video called, Movies I Wish I Had Sequels. If I make another one of those, Willow's probably going to be at the top of the list, because I would love to have seen another one, or still see another one, where we see what became of Willow and Mad Mardigan, and especially Laura Dannon, who would be grown up now and fulfilling her destiny. So that would be really great. Okay, I'm coming up on 15 minutes, so I'm done. Thanks a lot. Remember, I'm going to put links to the Deadly Dames videos down here in the description, so check it out. And I hope you enjoy this little video, and check out these great movies, and keep watching movies, especially fantasy movies. All right, see you later.